So we can get into it right now.
And just to wrap up what we're looking at here in a neat little package once again, this is the aggressive lineup from che0nsu going up against a very, very heavy control deck from Chongger. You see there even Ivory Knight in his paladin, which is not something that we're too used to seeing. che0nsu, on the other hand, does have an aggressive lineup, but it's a very chunky aggressive lineup. It's very mid-rangey. There's big, sticky threats, and a lot of them are at least decently sized minions, which is kind of where aggro is having to go right now, because pure swarm zoo-style decks just auto-lose to Primordial Drake, essentially.
Yeah, you just need the minions that are just big enough to actually get through. And we can see there, though, Chongger has Doomsayer, Stonehill, Hydrologist available early on. And that's absolutely huge. Just dropping a Doomsayer on 2, if there's any form of aggressive opening, just starts the game on turn 3 or 4 for the control deck. And that is actually a massive impact.
Full mulligan from che0nsu, no surprise. Nothing really worth holding on to in that position. Wow.
It looks so cool. che0nsu and Jaina versus Chongger and Uther.
Feels like Street Fighter character select screen going down here. Taking that Evo inspiration, is that what's happened?
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Babbling Book into a 2-drop play in the form of Flame Geyser. It's okay. It's just a small spell to burn off for some extra damage. Not terrible. Nothing super impactful yet. But at least it's something to do. Now there's the flexibility of Frostbolt and the Flame Geyser. Chongger choosing not to coin out the Doomsayer, thinking, well, if there's no good 2-drop, then Doomsayer pretty much gets wasted.
It's true. I'm just looking at the Secret Mage makeup. I'm trying to decipher someone else's handwriting here, which is always good fun, but I don't think there is a copy of Spellbender in che0nsu's deck, which is, of course, you've probably heard it been talked about before, but Spellbender against Paladin is incredibly powerful because you either steal their Spike-Ridge Steed, you lock out their Spike-Ridge Steed from ever being cast, or you force them to do something silly like burning Forbidden Healing to proc the Spellbender, which is just a big win for you anyway.
Yeah, as an aggro deck, you're kind of okay with that potential 20 heal not being there anymore. So you still gain a 1-3.
Very true.
The Hydrologist now. Options. Pretty much the standard. There's just, I would say, like Redemption instead of Eye for an Eye is a common pick. They're like the normal 3, depending on what deck you're up against. I imagine just Getaway Kodo is just fine for the value players. You can even just go, if this Hydrologist is cleaned up, you can just go into Stonehill Getaway Kodo next turn with the coin and just say, I'm just having that huge taunt game value going on.
Yeah, is it a value game that he really wants to be playing, though, is the question. He might want to look for a coin for tempo instead with something like Stampeding Kodo later, further down the line, because yes, he's playing a very slow control deck, right, where it seems like his plan is to grind out other decks and outvalue them. When control decks become particularly powerful, though, is when you can actually play them for tempo, right? Sure. If you get ahead of an aggro deck within the first few turns, it's really, really hard for them to swing it back around.
What how good just Doomsayer Getaway is?
Doomsayer Getaway Kodo. That's actually interesting. I don't mind that play.
If they kill it, you get it back. If they don't kill it, you save Getaway for your next turn. I think this is kind of a win-win.
I wouldn't mind to see it. With Pyromancer in his hand, he's probably looking quite likely to be able to get like a Pyro clear and then followed up with a Doomsayer later in the game, which might be where he's looking at this. That's not a huge land on his Stonehill Defender. Grindstreak Protector is fine. It's like the weakest of the Paladin cards that you often end up taking off this. But no Tyrians, no Tarims would have been the big wins, of course. And yeah, I like this. Just going hired gun. This nods to what I'm saying, where Chongger realizes his deck always wins the value game unless ridiculous Yogg things happen. So he just needs to make sure he has ways to contest the board for the coming turns, make sure he doesn't fall too far behind, and then contesting the board with minions often allows you to stretch out your Pyro clears, your Equality clears, further and allow you to get more value out of them later on.
Also as well, this Frostbolt being used means that, you know, just gains that little bit more value. There's not that easy removal there for che0nsu. Use the Frostbolt just to clear up the Stonehill. Was going to cause a few issues there, but looking at the following turns now for che0nsu. She's looking okay. That Crystal Runner, a little bit of a pain not being reduced yet, not getting any secrets out. But suddenly Glyph, Intellect, Counterspell, all of those cards combined create a lot of gas for che0nsu to be able to pile the pressure on. As we mentioned earlier, most of the aggro decks at the moment are really not just go face, win. It's more, I'm going to get the board. I'm going to get enough juice to actually end the game at my time. It's not all about going all out, emptying your hand and crossing your fingers. And you can see that from che0nsu's hand.
He's going to commit his Pyromancer clear. I was just looking at this. He does have the ability to neutralize these 1/1s on the board, which then does a lot of work with the Kodo that he has following up, because right now Kodo is one of his most powerful, swingiest tools in this matchup. But with those 1/1s in play, it's not really that strong coming down as guarantee. But when you can isolate the 1/1s out of the way, then suddenly Medivh's Valet, Arcanologist, like these are nice targets to snipe out. So I like the Pyro play with the fact that Stampeding Kodo can now come down on curve later.
Yeah, especially there's just a lot of strong targets. And yeah, you could say Kodo gets ate by the Violence Portal. But also the Violence Portal not to your face. And Kodo isn't that high value when you've already killed something with it.
Right, and if you're Kodoing on 5, it's not getting Fire Lance.
Yeah, that's right. Like, it's all just delayed. It actually soaks up more value than it would seem. Because also a 7-drop's killing a 5-drop, right? Like, normally you're pretty okay with that kind of outcome, that kind of mana usage, actually.
Alright, so the Kodo, this is the other reason why he felt good about playing the Pyromancer there, because he knows it's going down to 1 health. He knows che0nsu is forced to ping it. He can't just leave a Pyro on the board and try and develop into it. He doesn't want to trade his 2/2. If he does, that's just an even bigger win. So that way he knows he gets the Pyromancer back in his hand, and hey, you know what? Now he has a spare.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about Secret Mage and my dislike of the deck, but throw Giants in there, and you know what? Okay, che0nsu, you can have this one, because my issue with the deck was that it felt like it always had to curve really well early on to have a lot of good chances versus most matchups. But now with Giants, it gives you powerful enough late game that's easy enough to get off, right? And I actually do like it. I might give this deck a whirl when we're done today.
I love this line of play from Chongger, by the way. I just want to go back to this because the last 2 turns kind of has everything, right? It has the foresight of thinking that he wants to drop Stampeding Kodo. He had the understanding of the fact that he had the secret in play, so he wasn't actually wasting his Pyromancer. He was going to get it back in his hand. And now he's got that kind of implied value play that isn't a real threat, but he's now threatening Spike Ridge Steed to the opponent, right? He's timed his board swing so that it happens on turn 5, and now he's going into turn 6 with a minion in play, which may have forced che0nsu to do something outrageous, like just spend his turn fireballing a Stampeding Kodo, but no such bait taken for che0nsu.
Well, what's interesting here as well is che0nsu could have played Counterspell. Just been like, yeah, okay. There is the coin in hand.
Still in hand,
yeah. Also, you know, coin into Spike Ridge would have still got round that. But a lot of the time, I hear a lot of people say like, oh, you never play Counterspell if your opponent's got coin. But what if your opponent never uses coin? And then you never use Counterspell? Well, what's more valuable to the player, right? I would rather hold a coin all day if it means your opponent's never playing a Counterspell. So maybe forcing it out was okay, but che0nsu actually just went for the board development after seeing the Kodo. It means that, well, these minions are pretty safe. Yes, the Kodo can kill 1. Next turn is Violence or multiple secrets, and either way you can go secrets into the Crystal Runner a little bit later. They're going to reduce the Arcane Giant. I kind of like the way this, I feel like the Giant just like mesh and sort of bridge the gap. Still reducing them with spells and secrets, same with Crystal Runner.
Right.
And it just can be enough to push you over the line, I think.
And the cost of not playing Counterspell is what you're seeing right here, is that, yeah, che0nsu is, you know, quite rightly, arguably, scared of that coin breaking his Counterspell, but the fact that he's had that Counterspell in his hand the whole game and hasn't played it has meant that he's now stuck here with 2 Cabal Crystal Runners, which still cost 6. But none of that really matters when you just jam a Fire Lance on 7 and nail that Doom Guard. Oh dear.
Yeah, this could be a true turning point here for che0nsu now. Everything looked, you know, a little bit tit for tat, a little bit even-ish throughout the game, even though it looks like che0nsu's ahead on damage. But now that Doom Guard is just going to be a huge nightmare. Aldor Peacekeeper's available, but I feel like the damage has been done already.
That Rag Lightlord is a very clutch draw, though, because now Chongger can neutralize for 1 turn and then start restabilizing with Ragnaros Lightlord. And Lightlord is incredibly powerful against Mage in particular, because they don't usually play a natural polymorph in their deck, so unless they glyph it, you heal for 8, and then you heal for 8 more at least as they remove your Rag Lightlord if they don't have minion presence to keep doing that. If they do, well, that's still damage that's trading into your Lightlord anyway. So it's a huge, huge swing if you can get there. Chongger will be super happy to have the security of that Light Lord in hand right now, so he just needs to find one turn to bridge the gap, because he seemed to show that he's pretty committed to the idea of holding this coin for counterspell at this point. There's been a couple of pretty good coin turns, and he's chosen to hold on to it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think maybe now is the time you go Aldor into Doomsayer. Yeah, you can trade off the 2-1, leave a 1-7 on the board. And again, worst case, Doomsayer gets killed, but it soaks resources. And if it comes down and goes off, then you just slam your Light Lord onto the board. And you're like, well, now I've got an 8-8 Light Lord, and it's dead without minions to deal with it. It would require Fireball, Frostball, would require a Polymorph from a Glyph, or a Meteor from a Glyph, for example. But looks like Chongger's just gone to just develop more minions and say, you know what? This Doomguard's one attack is almost worthless on the board at the moment. I'm okay getting the board at this point.
Yeah, the other reason why I kind of like the Doomsayer play in that spot is that it does the work of getting rid of all the injured minions for you, so you start guaranteeing that heal to face. Yeah. Right now in this situation, there's a 3-1 on board that you would expect to get pinged off or dealt with in some kind of an efficient manner, but che0nsu does have the ability to kind of play around Rag Light Lord by just nudging this fairly useless Doomguard into a minion here and putting some damage onto one of Chongger's minions. So he would have had a way to push through that, but che0nsu's gone the other way. This is very, very reasonable. He's gone for Fireball and played Mirror Entity here so that if the Rag Light Lord comes down to mitigate some of this healing, to mitigate some of the damage he's firing off, he just gets a free 8-8 of his own. This is a very viable game plan in his own right from che0nsu.
Yeah, especially because it can be traded into with all the minions, but all the minions, right, is the key point. We can see Consecrates there, so that is 2 damage, but I do like this play from che0nsu now, just even this Fireball face saying, you know what, I have Pyroblast next turn. If all this adds up and goes together, then, you know, if it's not a Rag Light Lord and something else, I could just have enough damage to end the game. If not, there's Counterspell into Crystal Runner. How does the Paladin deal with that? You know, there's no equality, at least in hand at the moment. And then after that, there's Giants.
I think Chongger knows what the deal is here. Secret played into his turn 8. He's got a pretty hard read on the fact that that is Mirror Entity, combined with the fact that both of these players will probably understand the dance that's happened here with Counterspell and the coin. che0nsu certainly knows that the coin is still in hand, but Chongger will have a pretty good read that there's probably a Counterspell being held in hand from che0nsu, based on the cards on the left-hand side of his hand that haven't been played. So when you rule out the fact that it's a counterspell being played as well, suddenly you're dealing with almost 100% certainty that it's Mirror Entity hitting the board. So you see Chongger choosing to respect that very heavily and go with the Pyromancer play instead. But with that 8-mana Pyro in hand for che0nsu, Chongger was flirting with death just a little bit.
Well, that's it, isn't it? The Pyroblast plus ping next turn is 11 damage. This turn can be the counter spell into the Cabal. The problem is that is a little bit open to the board. It's a little bit risky now. Maybe you go for Bug first, see what happens. You never know. Maybe an AoE or a Frost Nova comes out.
Yeah, so if che0nsu was making a pure read or a particular play around Rag Light Lord on the previous turn, the secret Crystal Runner play doesn't make a lot of sense because, as you said, it just gets traded out by the board completely. And then Rag Light Lord hits on an empty board and just heals back up again. So it may just... The quality of his hand might just dictate the fact that he just has to shut his eyes and ignore Rag Light Lord at this point and just hope that he can get there. Yeah, he's going to be the play. Pinging off the 3-1 so he can at least stick one of his 5-5s to the board, but he's going to be in a little bit of trouble here with Rag Light Lord hitting.
Yeah, this is a tough one. The ping was probably more valuable than the book overall. But the book first could have opened up more options.
Yeah, but
it's a risk.
It's so low percentage, right? Like, what's Babbling Book actually going to give you that gives you a better turn than what you had here?
Yeah, I mean, either burn or AoE would be fine, I think.
Burn or AoE?
Because burn, maybe you can do enough damage that Rag doesn't heal enough. Because you have Pyroblast ping the turn after. AoE means you can clear the board and probably just play Counterspell and then go from there. Depending on the AoE, even if Frost Nova would have been okay.
Right, but if you just AoE the board, then you're back in the same spot again, right? Where they just develop first onto the board and you're behind, right? So
sure.
in the case of like healing coming down in that spot, you're kind of screwed either way.
Oh wow, there's the Spy Ridge going.
Yes, indeed.
Didn't use coin.
He did not.
What's the coin for, Sol? Are you waiting to coin this game?
Let's move quickly.
I mean, yeah, it works with Pyro, but are we past the point where Pyro makes a difference now? Because you're probably going to Pyro quality, right?
That was very, very strange, and it honestly goes against where I've put myself with the player's mindset this entire game, because I said just last turn that Chongger probably has a good counterspell read based on those cards on the left-hand side that haven't been played because he hasn't played his coin. So to then not test with the coin is very bizarre to me and honestly doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that might have been, as che0nsu takes that first win, just a straight-up mistake, to be honest, because I can't think of a world where coin actually... there's a plan for coin in this game, right? You're on 10 mana. You have N'Zoth. You've not played Tyrion or anything like that, so there's no rush there. There's nothing you can coin out with N'Zoth. There's nothing particularly you can coin out with an 8-drop, like with Rag. Like, what makes that difference? And all I think now is if you're not testing with coin Doomsayer turn 1 would have ended up being better overall because you stopped the minion development, you know, as a potential. I don't know. I think if you're not using the coin there, maybe even coin Kodo on 4 because there were minions to kill. I don't know, that feels like a little bit of a rough ending to a game that wasn't necessarily over. And also leaving 5 damage up when your opponent's playing an aggressive mage. Like, you're on 13, you leave 5, well, that's not a lot, that's fireball ping.
Because leading with coin that turn doesn't even necessarily just say, okay, now I've dealt with the counterspell, I can jam my Spike Ridge Steed. It gives you full flexibility. Right, because
you know it's not mirror.
You play coin, the counterspell goes, then you can go, okay, maybe Rag Lightlord's better instead. Maybe I just play Lightlord and trade out. Like, it would have given you so many different options if you'd have just established it. But the big point for me is that I felt, just from like a blind hand reading perspective, which is very hard to do from a caster's perspective when you can
we
see
just
both
see them
hands.
all the time.
The fact that he was holding the coin the whole time, and then the fact that there was Cabal Crystal Runner and Counterspell on the left-hand side of che0nsu's hand that weren't being played, I felt like that was a pretty clean read that you could put together. Those cards could be Yogg-Saron, they could be Arcane Giants, they could be Cabal Crystal Runners, or they could be Counterspell. That's basically where you were.
Yeah,
with
like
that, right?
at worst duplicate secrets, right? Strange. But that is game 1 to che0nsu, so he has took the win there, and looks like just pretty solid play from che0nsu. Nothing. It's kind of weird, isn't it, to say like we think a player's great because he just doesn't really make mistakes, which is often the sign of it's the sign of a player actually getting there. You know what I mean?
Right.
In a lot of matchups, it's not always or necessarily who does the craziest play or like the flashiest thing. It's more like who makes the least mistakes normally gets ahead enough to win.
Yeah, and I think the point that people miss when we say like this player is incredible because he just doesn't make mistakes, you know, we kind of look at like Pavel along those same lines as well. Like a lot of the time, it's not like spectacular play coming out from Pavel. Like he just plays solid. Yeah. But the point that people miss is that everyone makes mistakes in Hearthstone, right?
100%.
Like, no one is playing this game perfectly. Everyone makes errors, and like straight up, like guaranteed strategic 100% objective errors happen from players in almost every series.
I mean, look at this. Like, Osaka's easily one of the best players in the world, right? And at Seat Story, he just missed a blatant trade that opened up his opponent for an execute, which couldn't have happened. It was just a 3-3 into a 3-3, and he had Yasharaj next to that minion. Yeah. It's like, well, that's just incorrect. And he said it was incorrect afterwards. He said, oh, he just messed up.
Osaka missed lethal at Seat Story because he forgot his can had 6 HP.
Yeah, there you go.
It just happens. If you want to know exactly how much every player in Hearthstone misplays, go follow Tic Tac on Twitter.
Yeah, he will tell you, and he will definitely tell them. But yeah, you know, everyone makes mistakes. Best players in the world make mistakes in the tournaments that they play in. We see that in every single tournament. But for che0nsu, and similar to Pavel, again, I remember talking to Firebat, and Firebat was like, well, it's really hard or weird to cast a Pavel match because you can't really disagree with much of what he does because it's just always solid, always works.
Yeah.
It's always seems like the correct line to make.
The thing with like when we say a player doesn't particularly make mistakes too often is that they will make things that certain players will disagree with, but it's debatable. It's this line goes here, this line goes here, which is better. He just doesn't make clear, objective, mechanical mistakes, which some players tend to do.
Yeah, I think we are ready to get into game number 2 of this best of 5 now. It's che0nsu versus Chongger. Let's see if Chongger can actually just recover a little bit, because I think he has to. I think that end of that last game was just shaky. che0nsu going for the old Pirate Warrior. Chongger on the Jade Druid. And you think Jade Druid actually a little bit favoured here?
Not since the switch to Hydras. And I'm trying to decipher Jax's handwriting again. That looks like 2 Hydras to me. Would you agree?
Yeah.
His 1s and 2s are very similar. I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah, it's a 2 Spellbreaker Hydra Greenskin Leroy.
Yeah, so double Hydra Pirate Warrior is for sure favored against Jade Druid by a good few percent.
Double Hydra Warrior.
Before that change happened, I think Jade Druid would just kind of had enough stability to get the job done. You could just trade 1-for-1 with a couple of minions in the early game. If you didn't get the fast Innovate start or the fast Wild Growth start, then you can just wrath down a couple of minions if that's available, and then suddenly, just healing for 5 or 6 a couple of times with an Earthen Scales, or healing for 5 with an Earthen Scales and healing for 8 with a Feral Rage, combined with just ever-drawing Primordial Drake, like you're in really good shape. But double Spellbreaker to deal with Primordial Drake and double Hydra just to stick a huge threat to the board, that helps so much now for the Pirate Warrior.
Yeah, it's kind of nutty. At first, when the first Spellbreaker happened and started being played in Pirate Warrior, it was like, oh, this can just get you there a lot of the time. But then when the second, it's like, wow, it's always going to happen every game. Because even if you don't end up playing 2, you're more than likely to draw 1 because you're playing 2 in the deck as a whole. This start, though, looks like the patch is just going to be used to clean up this 1-1. Keeps the deck out on the board. Says, well, if you hero power this, fine, you're not ramping. If you wrath this, fine, you're not ramping. If you ramp, fine, have a pyro on the board.
So decision point number 1, Chongger had to evaluate the quality of his hand and weigh up cycling a Wrath versus the ability to deal with, say, a Southsea Captain or a Bloodsail Raider coming down now in the following turns, just hit a higher priority minion. Having now drawn Jade Idol, so at the very least he has Jade Idol hero power for the follow-up turn, I think holding on to the Wrath is probably the correct decision. The one minion he wouldn't have wanted to see coming down after keeping the Wrath here is Coin Frothing Berserker, because that's not something he can deal with until the next turn swipe. But Jade Blossom is about as good as it gets as a draw in that spot.
Yeah, can even just swipe Jade Idol next turn as well, so it's all kind of lining up great. And looks like the Frothing's going to be going into the Jade.
Has to trade to play around swipe.
Yeah.
I say has to trade. He is trading to play around swipe. Whether that is correct or not, obviously in this situation we see it's going to work out. But the reason the trade happens is that he doesn't want 2-2 to go into 3-3 and then swipe to be a full clear.
So now swipe doesn't quite get him there. Chongger has to work out exactly what he wants to swipe. It's not really the easiest choice here. I wonder if he can actually Wrath Jade Idol hero power instead. Because you're creating a 3-3 Jade Idol. You can just Wrath for the Frothing and keep hold of swipe.
It's possible. It does contest directly.
Yeah, the 3-2 doesn't change much. Like the captain being a 3-2 isn't really a huge issue compared to a 3-3.
He might even be considering Nourish Ramp into Wrath.
Because
with the Auctioneer in hand, he can just get himself right the way to Primordial Drake now, and then use Auctioneer to try and draw Primordial Drake, and then he has the mana to be able to play that and potentially lock out the game. I like this play, actually. Yeah. This was kind of the 3rd or 4th play that I saw this turn, but sometimes that does end up being the correct one.
Yeah, just have to basically work through the plan and see what happens, to be honest. And this could also just make Chongger fall flat on his face a tiny bit. If he doesn't quite get a good draw off the Gadget's End draw,
for sure.
then it's just game, because he just used Nourish to ramp, not draw cards, and then he's just ran out of resources to actually, battle back onto this board. Meanwhile, che0nsu has played the Raider there, just a casual 6-4 on the board as you do. And now Spellbreaker, Upgrade, Heroic Strike, all at this point game-ending tools for che0nsu.
Full clear is available this turn if he wants to try and relieve some pressure, hope that there is a minion light hand from che0nsu, which can happen, and then give himself the Auctioneer turn on the following turn, starting with the Jade Idol. And if he does go for full clear this turn, he's kind of already hit money with that Nourish play, right? Because he wouldn't have 7 this turn to be able to do Swipe and Feral Rage.
He's going to go for it as well. I think he has to, especially if he can see the hand. It's a lot of damage.
Time waits for
A
no
lot of
one.
damage though, even with the upgrade of Heroic Strike.
It really is.
If Spellbreaker's ever going to come down. Just as a minion. See, it depends on what che0nsu draws this turn. But a lot of the time you can just drop Spellbreaker.
Oh boy. We have a plan.
We do. Never mind, Spellbreaker, you can wait. So it's like a Heroic Strike. And the reason for the Heroic Strike over the Spellbreaker is next turn there is opportunity to just play Leroy if need be. But he couldn't play Leroy Heroic Strike next turn, so maybe there's Leroy Upgrade, even though it doesn't quite get you there. So they just use the Heroic Strike. Maybe he could have held on to it then, because it doesn't actually set up lethal.
Well, it also gives him, like, he doesn't have next turn lethal unless he... Oh, well, there's no top deck that pairs with Leroy for lethal, right?
No.
So he doesn't have next turn lethal anyway. So now his 2-turn setup is, you know, Leroy next turn if that's what I need to do, or if the big taunt comes down next turn, then it's Spellbreaker next turn, and then Leroy sets up for the lethal the turn after.
He's basically trading off flexibility for the front-end damage, right? So he has actually just gone for the flexible route. Can just use the Spellbreaker now. Can just stop the gadgets and cycling. And this is what I was a little bit worried about with the Nourish play. In the, well, the cards you draw off the top of your deck for the next 2 turns better be good.
It's true.
Because if they're not, you know, what is this Doomsday doing now?
There's a lot of them, though.
Is the Primordial Drake,
Jade Behemoths, Earthen Scales, Feral Rages, and Primordial Drakes. There is a lot of them that are anti-Pirate Warrior in your deck, and it's why this matchup is a lot better than people think for the Jade Druid.
So, second Spellbreaker go.
Yeah.
That's what you run to?
It is. That and Spike Ridge Steed.
Ooh, close.
It has one similarity. They both have 3 health.
And it's a minion.
Good.
Yeah,
They're both Hearthstone cards.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're both played in this deck.
They both start with an S.
I told you it was close.
It is. I'm just an idiot. I'm coming round.
There
Yeah.
we go.
They're just the same card.
Another clipped subtle audio for me.
The
Saying
G's of Raven.
there you go. God, that sounds so similar. But second Primordial Drake now. I mean, that just ends the game, right? I believe there are no mortal strikes in che0nsu's deck. So there is not even a chance at, you know, swinging, you know, nipping some extra damage through somehow.
Right.
Maybe, you know, you get through this one minion, then you draw Spellbreaker the next one, and try and do it that way. I think you still need Mortal Strike at that point, and it's just not there. So it looks like Chongger is on a path to even this up, and I just like second Drake here.
Yeah, Chongger will just be having a quick think about his clock here because Spellbreaker would have to hit the 4/8 for him to die in any world. So now then he's thinking, okay, what's that one card in hand? And if Spellbreaker is the draw, can that card ever kill me alongside the Fiery War Axe?
So you think Heroic Strike number 2?
If that's not the case, then you might actually have a quicker clock just pushing face here and swiping the minions so you get to connect to 8. But there are dangers with doing it that way, of course. So second Primordial Drake might end up coming down instead, and that is what's going to happen. But you do have to think through all those options because actually when you're in this good a control against a Pirate Warrior, it's actually in your interest to end the game as quickly as you can because they can just draw back-to-back-to-back damage over 2 or 3 turns and find their way out of it.
For example.
If you don't just, you know, clutch the game out as quick as you can.
Yeah, I do think there are still so many draws in the deck. You know, Earthen Scales also ends the game. So if you just hold on for another 2 turns, that's 2 turns that you're very likely to draw something pretty
Probably
reasonable.
enough.
Boom.
Is now.
Drake into ooze.
Hey, if you're going to draw like that, nourish for mana all day long, baby.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to nourish for cards if you're going to draw like the best answers you're going to get in the deck. And it looks like Chongger is going to be able to even this up with 2 Drakes and now no weapon and the armor gained from the ooze gobbling that weapon up. This is pretty much decided at this point.
Swipes the minion, realizes he has the damage free to do it. The armor up will go to 12 and then 11 damage on the board plus the hero power would mean he still threatens lethal after using that swipe, so just does it for security. And Chongger does bounce back now, square up the game with his Jade Druid, and you saw that Hydra get drawn right at the end there. That was kind of just the one thing he was missing, right? Just one source of persistent damage to stick to the board because, sure, we talk a lot about how Hydra has come in and really reflected the fact that that's given them a little bit of an edge back against Jade Druid, mainly because it's just a big minion that they can't deal with, right? But the very, very specific interaction why Hydra is so good in that matchup is that it just chews up a Primordial Drake.
Well, it can chew 2.
Yeah.
It can actually just chain against 2. Yes, you don't get an 8 to the face.
Depends on the order. Well, so if you go 8-8 and then it's an 8-6 and then you trade and it's an 8-2 and then the second one kills it. But yeah.
the ability to just even hit through the 1 and, you know, potentially some more afterwards, depending on what's on board, is just enough, right? Imagine if, like, there was just a minion that kills the first Drake. Well, there's enough damage, like, straight away.
Interestingly, like, it's actually the one aspect of the Quest Rogue nerf that has ended up working against Jade Druid. Like, I think we all agree that Jade Druid is, like, one of the biggest winners from the Quest Rogue nerf, because the control decks come back out to play that were getting farmed by Quest Rogue, and then suddenly Jade Druid comes along. But actually, another reason why Pirate Warrior can play Hydra now is that Hydra used to be vulnerable to Glacial Shard and Vanish.
Yep.
So now, with that deck gone, you can get Hydra in, and there's a lot lower risk. It's only really like Aldor Peacekeeper now that's a big punish.
Just start playing Glacial and Vanish in Miracle Rogue.
But that card coming in, the Hydra coming in, is actually a bit of a punish to J-Druid. So it's not all come up Millhouse for J-Druid in terms of the Quest Rogue now.
Yeah, but it wasn't enough there for Chongger to get the win and even the series up. So he seems to be pretty steady there, but still che0nsu very limited in his options. I think the overall lines were fine. He just couldn't get there. If someone draws Drake into the ooze to actually just eat up the weapon, sometimes you can make it even against the odds with an upgraded weapon.
Right.
Maybe Heroic Strike's the next draw, so you just one-tap one of the Drakes and then move on through that if you have enough health to play with. But as you mentioned, he was actually just the Druid was actually just pushing enough damage for it to be a worry in itself.
Yeah, and that's really the story of the matchup, is as long as you don't sit there with no answers. Like, there's some games where you can just pass turn 1, Wild Growth turn 2, and in that time, the Pirate Warrior's already gone like N'Zoth's first mate, Coin, South Sea Captain,
Sure.
and they're just beating you up. Those are the games you lose, where you're too slow and they just push 12, 15 damage in the first few turns. As long as you can stop that from happening. And let's be real, it was a pretty good start. It was 1 drop on 1 that summoned patches into Coin Frothing. Like, that's a high percentage draw for Pirate Warrior, and J-Druid was able to deal with it just fine.
Yeah, I think the Jade Blossom was absolutely huge,
huge,
there,
yeah,
like
right.
because having that just available. Otherwise, the turn was just the turn was Wrath for 3, buff the Frothing Pass. Like the turn was actually really bad overall. There wasn't really anything else to do. So that and just getting the Jades able to contest at least half the health, or a third of the health, actually quick enough, was pretty huge there. So it looks like the che0nsu still got his Pirate Warrior. He's already won with his Mage, so he has his Aggro Druid or Paladin left. I'm not actually sure what the ban was. We can probably check that out in a minute. See the decks that are actually banned out. We'll see what happens here. And then Chongger still has his did take a win with the Druid, has Paladin that we did see, and then either Taunt Warrior or the Gunter Mage left.
Yeah, I would expect that che0nsu has banned Taunt Warrior away from Chongger. That just kind of makes sense with the lineup that he's playing. When you have an Aggro Druid and a Pirate Warrior in your lineup, you probably don't want to be leaving Taunt Warrior around. Secret Mage and Hoi Paladin can kind of get the job done in that matchup, but honestly, if you're bringing a more aggressive to mid-range lineup with you, then Taunt Warrior is just the big wall that stands in the way of your success, so I'd expect to see that ban coming down. Chongger's ban is probably just a lot more flexible. Probably, from my perspective, it would be one of those latter 2 decks that I mentioned, the Secret Mage or the Hoi Paladin, because his control deck should be able to wall out the pure aggro decks. It's the chunkier mid-range decks that he's concerned about.
Yeah, we are getting to game number 3 though, and it looks like che0nsu is going to be on his Aggro Druid versus Chongger's N'Zoth Paladin. See how this one goes up. Not the best opening hand. And do you always keep Innovate in the opening hand if there's no minions to start off with? It's tricky, right?
It depends on the makeup of the deck. Some of the Aggro Druid builds actually get very, very greedy, play many, many 5-drops. Finger Package can be in there, although that's kind of a thing of the past these days. But then you can kind of have like the double Hydra. Sometimes there's Shell Shifter. We've even seen like the Menagerie Warden builds floating around. If your deck's kind of that greedy, 100% keep Innovate. But for some matchups, you want to hit Firefly, you want to hit hand buffs a little bit more. But, I mean, if you get to the point where you're mulliganing away Innovate, why are you playing 2 of them in your deck, right? Because they are absolutely dead draws come turn 4, 5, 6 and later. So if you're not keeping them in your opening hand, drop one of them.
Yeah, I do really like this, though, with the Mark of Yasharaj onto the Raven and then using the Innovate to get the second minion out in the form of the Golakko Crawler. It's actually looking huge now, and Paladin, frankly, does not have many answers to an opening like this. I mean, we see, Equality into Coin Consecrate is probably the only thing Chongger can do to actually battle back here.
And there's a very clear reason why you do it this way. Your options, you could have just played the 2-3, and, well, actually, no, this is the only way you can do it. The big reason this is happening is to contest Doomsayer, because now he has 4+2 plus the hero power to do this.
Yep.
If he hadn't used the Innovate this turn, he could do the same thing the next turn as long as he played the second minion. Just go Mark of Yasharaj, Innovate, hero power to do it, but hey, why not just max out on the power first and foremost, because then you're in a better spot in the non-Doomsayer worlds as well.
Yeah, this is really huge here. Just che0nsu just preparing for the worst. Going to work out what can happen now, and it looks like actually Chongger's going to go for Rallying Blade instead of the equality conk set up, and that's understandable. There could be more buffs in hand that just push you out of it anyway. Second savage draw, bit of a whiff, but it does mean Che0nsu's like, well, work with what you got. Play the savage draw and just go face.
Forbidden Healing is in hand already, and if this is what Che0nsu's plan comes down to, just raw damage hitting the face turn after turn, which is basically all he has going for him right now, then Chongger has actually the perfect hand to deal with that strategy. He now has Wickerflame Burn Bristle for a taunt, Sunkeeper Tauren for a taunt, Ivory Knight for healing, and Forbidden Healing for healing. So the only cards in his hand that don't play into the anti-face damage strategy is in fact the Equality Consecration, which is kind of weird to think against what's usually such a board-focused deck.
Yeah, this is crazy. Burn Bristle coming off the Stonehill was absolutely huge because if any of you blinked, you may have missed that, but Chonger's on 11 health. You know, there's actually just not a lot left now, but it's slowed down just a little bit. This Corsair picking off the durability on the weapon's pretty nice. Patches means he can trade very nicely with Burn Bristle. This Tar Creeper is effectively just setting up lethal.
He has just taken a long... Yeah, I was going to say this. If he trades through, he takes a very long, slow walk right into Consecration. So I like this lack of trade. This is one of the things people really miss about Taunt Minions. People think of Taunt Minions as a defensive tool, but actually they give you flexibility in aggressive positions as well. I don't know if you remember, but we had this talk in our card review that we did for Admirable with this set, where I said I really like the way they've actually managed to make efficient statted Taunt Minions while encouraging only control to play them by making them not aggressive. And Admirable, being the wise man that he is, said, nope, you're still playing that in aggro decks just to hide minions behind it. It's exactly what you're seeing right now.
And now especially the Savage Raw alone for the damage on the Malfurion for Che0nsu will actually just clear through Burn Bristle anyway. So as you said, this is kind of huge here. It's going to be a huge problem to deal with. Flappy Bird there, but it's not going to be too much of a problem now, as that, my friend, does add up to what we're on. Not quite enough for that.
12.
Yep, not quite enough. You see the Redemption get propped as well. So
Unlucky.
There's nothing Che0nsu could do about that, to be fair. It's not like you can't not kill Burn Bristle in that spot. There was no swipe available in the hand to try and aim it at something else. So Chongger is actually just healing up to 19 at this point.
Most of the secrets were a big problem for him there, or like most of the secrets that would have been realistically played in that position, right? Because
Repentance.
Yeah, Getaway Kodo is kind of best case scenario for Che0nsu in that position, which still he wouldn't have had lethal and there would be another Wicker Flame back in the hand, right? But Noble Sack or Redemption, which of course Redemption was worst case scenario, both of those created big problems.
Look at this. Perfect clear coming up now. The whole board clear, can follow it with the Doomsayer, and let's be honest, without one of those, you know, big 5-drops.
Needs living mana right now.
Che0nsu's not really got much to go. He does still have next turn.
That's true.
He's never going to play living mana
he's not going to
anyway.
play this turn, yeah.
So he still has one more draw to try and make it, but this could just be the trade that broke the camel's back, so to speak.
Yeah, that right now was not a literal right now. It was a soon. TM. TM.
A Blizzard soon.
Yeah.
Ivory Knight. Can't see the discovers. There we go.
Ooh. Ah, hi.
It's kind of strange. Forbidden Healing.
I will heal for 0, please.
Yeah, it's such a weird card from Ivory Knight because the whole point of Ivory Knight is you can get some heal off the card you get. Ooh, nice. Playing around Hydra.
So yeah, I'm going to assume if we yeah, there is... Wow, he's actually playing a Spellbreaker in his aggro druid as well. I didn't notice that. Interesting. So yeah, there's 2 Hydras in the decks, which, yeah, he's playing around here with the Repentance. That makes a lot of sense. He's not really well covered against living mana, as we said, but at least this way, he gives himself some cover against one of the power draws that Che0nsu could pick up.
Yeah, and even look at the confidence here. He has Forbidden Healing, could have healed all the way up to full. Doesn't matter, there's no board. I'm just going to play Can, Hero Power, and say,
yeah, of course.
You'll beat me now.
Right. Repentance comes down, very little value, but Che0nsu, having not hit any of the 5-drops this game, was never going to be in a position to get enough of a consistent push to beat the hand that Chongger had. I said very early on that Che0nsu just drew Savage Raw, Swipe, had to commit to face damage, and he was up against the Wicker Flame, Burn Bristle, Redemption, Forbidden Healing, Ivory Knight hand, right? You're just not getting there.
Yeah, I think it was a huge one was just the Redemption on the Burn Bristle with no good way to clean up, right? That healed for 8 and did damage to the minions to set up the Consecrate. Burn Bristle's just a dude. He just gets there.
just a dude. Is that what you said?
It's like the paladin tokens, dudes.
Chongger now stuck in the victory vortex. He has won the game. He's just trying to decide exactly how he would like to win the game.
Yeah. Harrison, go. It's probably better. It's a free kill on the Raven. That's my soul every time I see one of those die.
Living mana again. It's basically where we are, right? He needs it. It's not going to be good enough. Quality is always going to be an answer to that, even though the 1-1 gets eliminated. If he wants to take it off the board, he absolutely can do. che0nsu is running out of time to hit that living mana.
I mean, well...
Oh, okay then.
I was going to say, let's be honest. Remove equality from the hand, remove the Aldor. He could just double trade the 4-attack minions, then play the Zoth for a fresh...
He could just tower him and trade 3/3.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's just so many...
He had a million ways to do it.
And
yep.
This is the best one now, though. Commit the healing. It's probably going to say, che0nsu, just concede, friend. This game is over. Firefly not going to make it. che0nsu just hanging on for what the last draw was going to be. But it was not meant to be. And Chongger is actually 2-1 now versus che0nsu. Surprised none of those names mixed around a little bit more. Because the chons.
What are you trying to say, Raven?
That the names are similar.
Oh, okay. No, that makes sense.
Strange person.
I am.
But yeah, Chongger is actually going 2-1 up versus che0nsu with that with the paladin win, and I believe his last deck is going to be the mage deck now.
If we're right about the ban, do we have the
Yeah.
Tormoria ban confirmed?
No.
Okay. I mean, it makes it just makes sense, guys.
Sometimes we're just right without needing confirmation.
Wow, so much confidence.
Pretty much Hearthcast.
It's true.
No one tell me I'm wrong because I'm presuming I'm right all the time. So shush.
And he has around 7% success rate with that strategy.
70. Come on.
70.
75.
17. 1-7. There we go. Compromise.
What did we compromise on the your career percentage?
I think that was 7 actually in the end.
No, I think we go to 12.
12.
I think we went to 12, but I'll take it. So 12% accuracy in all things sounds about right. But yeah, there's just this mage left, and even depending on exactly, obviously we've got a few of the notes on the mage list here, but even the mage versus the aggro druid, you know what? That's all right. A lot of the time,
you take it.
Not too bad. Volcanic potion is in there.
He has Volcanic Blizzard and Flame Strike. Yeah, he even has Ice Barrier, which isn't the best card against, again, aggro druid, usually very board focused deck. Your goal is to answer the board, not just to stay alive over time. Yeah. But when you have a heavy late game AoE deck, like if you whiff on your Volcanic Potion and you're just hanging around waiting for Blizzards and Flame Strikes, that's where Ice Barrier comes into play, just to find you that extra turn or two that you need to hit that Blizzard or Flame Strike.
Also as well, there's just glyphs. True. Glyph into Blizzard just has broke the back of many aggro druid, as they're just like, turn 4 Blizzard. I guess that's the problem. Yeah, and like the AoE from Glyph thing is really tilting to come up against, but if you actually include every AoE, like if you throw it... Nailed it. No one noticed a thing. Subtle, I like it. If you actually count every AoE card, like if you include Arcane Explosion, Cone of Cold, Meteor, things that aren't like true AoEs, I mean Arcane Explosion is, but you get what I'm saying, it's very weak. Tickling AoE. Then it's actually above 50% that you hit an AoE spell from Primordial. We're going to find out how the matchup goes. It's going to be the Mage, so we know the Warrior was in fact banned. che0nsu locking in the Druid again. And we'll see how it turns out. But as we said, Chongger not in a terrible position with this Mage. Frost Nova, again, just buying a turn is actually pretty valuable against this deck. I'm guessing Mage minus aggro is Jax's way of denoting Hybrid Freeze Mage, right? Because that's what it feels like I'm looking at right now. Firelands Portal, Frost Nova in the opening hand, plus the tech card notes that we have down in front of us from Jax. It's looking like the old Zump Mage. Yeah, and I played a lot of Gunter style Mage, and I didn't play this version for quite a long time. It's so good. And then I played it, I was like, why have I not been playing this version? It's like, Frost Nova, just put Frost Nova Doomsayer in a Mage deck. It's probably going to work out okay in the end. It is very, very strong. And look at this opening hand already. There is the Volcanic Potion, which sometimes, I'll be honest, can be tricky to get to work, because there is a Mark of the Lotus that can buff minions a little bit higher. So it's going to need a preemptive ping here on the Raven to be able to just set it up for that Volcanic Potion. But again, Doomsayer, Fireball, even for, a Flappy Bird or something, is just At the moment, the answers are looking pretty decent. There's just one Doomsayer away from being a huge lockout here.
Yeah, for Chongger, it depends on how hard he wants to telegraph and how certain he is that he's playing Volcanic Potion next turn. The certainty that you're playing Volcanic Potion next turn starts to reach somewhere around 100%, but it's just a matter of whether you really want to turn that card face up in your hand, which is what pinging the 2/2 does. The reason you're pinging the 2/2, if you didn't follow that, is because if a buff comes down, it then goes up to 3 health. They have 4 different buffs they can play this turn that will pull it out of range, and that would mean that you are then able to Volt Potion down the board. But I guess Chongger is just saying, hey, you know what? You already play Bloodsail Corsair plus Patches. That would be your big 2-mana buff turn, right? You would play Bloodsail Corsair plus Patches and then Mark of the Lotus. Since you've already done that, I am not scared of you buffing this board.
Yeah, and you should be, because this Galactic Crawler is going to be a bit of a nightmare now. Wasn't quite the same as a buff, but it's basically just it gave a buff to the minion in itself.
I mean, this is another reason why Chonger's line has worked out better for him, right? Like, pinging the Raven doesn't do anything against this play.
No, exactly. Well, he gets to... He still kills the Raven and the Patches, and that's it. So it does, you know, obviously the Crab is a huge nightmare, and also the Crab would have actually just ate the Patches regardless. But now Frostnova Doomsayer is available, but the worry is that feels like a long way off with 2 turns until it can be played.
And that Spellbreaker could actually turn out pretty clutch this game from an offensive point of view from che0nsu. Like, if, say, a Bittertide Hydra hits the board and then gets locked out with a Frostnova or a Blizzard, suddenly that Spellbreaker just turns into 8 damage, which is a huge swing.
Also, as well, just Spellbreaker on the Doomsayer.
Yep.
Just ignore it.
Yep.
Doesn't have to soak 7 damage or more, potentially.
Time runs out on me.
Doesn't clear the board. I feel like Frostnova Doomsayer does just completely wreck Druid. They don't really have a way to deal with it out of hand most of the time. There's some like funky things you can do late game, but that's about it. Yeah, looks like this ping is going to be setting up for the Volcanic Potion going forward, but now with the Flappy Bird, I mean,
Ding!
yeah, this is rough for che0nsu, I think. Just Fireball on the bird, Frostnova Doomsayer the turn after.
Well, he does have the Spellbreaker for that line of play, right? That's what we've just been talking about, which means these get to the 3/3 and the 2/2 get to keep connecting over another couple of turns. I don't think it's bad as you're making out.
Ah, yeah, because he can go double buff this turn. I was wondering.
You go minion buff.
Yeah, I was wondering whether he was gonna actually. The thought of sometimes I guess you do just play the Spellbreaker on 4 as a 4/3. It doesn't need to, and yeah, this is suddenly a bit of a problem.
And the reason you go minion and buff here as opposed to double buff is because you have that Spellbreaker in hand, right? Like, if you didn't have the answer to the Doomsayer, you would perhaps argue to yourself, like, why would I generate such a big board this turn? Let's just double buff and push the damage. But since you have the Spellbreaker to answer the Doomsayer, you want to end up making the bigger board with the extra 4/3 in play.
Look at che0nsu as well, just smiling. He's like, ha! So I've curved perfectly, and now I have the 2 power 5 drops, so I can pick which one I like here. Although, with using the buff, I imagine normally it's Hydra first. But especially with no buffs in hand, it feels like Hydra first.
Hello.
Seems reasonable. Double Volt Potion is going to be the clear, though. As I said, very, very high percentage to hit even relevant AoE off the Primordial Glyph. Like, any AoE is above 50%, but even if you take some of the useless ones out there, you're still looking at like 37% plus to hit a relevant AoE card off Primordial Glyph.
That's a pretty big number, actually. It might not sound like it, but it is. Now we can see as well, maybe this is just Violence go. Pretty likely to get a taunt of Violence.
How
I'd say
likely,
pretty
Raven?
likely. You tell me.
Go on. Go on. You've heard me say it so many times. You must remember by now.
An incredible
14%. Small, right?
1 out of 6. It's not far off. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you say 1 out of versus percentages.
Yeah.
I was thinking of percentages, one. But yeah. Pretty close. Gonna go for the Nova instead, though. Just develop the Archaeologist and draw the Secret.
Which he needs. Yeah. He's going to need Ice Block potentially to set him up a win here. Especially now the Hydra's on board. Like, Hydra actually gives you a lot of hope for your Ice Block, because like 1 extra turn while your opponent has a Hydra on board, you can set up some very cute damage plans. Like, not for the least of it, your ping does 3 damage while there's a Hydra
2 mana
on the
deal
board,
3,
so.
yeah. Frostbolt face without the freeze.
Yep.
This is rough. There's 12 damage guaranteed next turn if he goes Violence and trade. But I think you might have to Violence and trade here. What is Ice Block doing for you?
It's an excellent question.
That's just good for Johnson.
Kind of is, yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, you know, getting the damage from Hydra's great. Well, not if you heal it up with a Corrupted Healbot.
So yep, that 12 is going to go through. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And the Galactic Crawler is going to come down and eat the Bloodsail Corsair afterwards, I imagine, just to get the 3-4 into play.
Why not?
Spent the Innovate this turn, so it looks guaranteed to see that happen. Yep.
And now what? Flame Strike exactly? No, not even that. 'Cause it takes damage from the ping, from the Druid.
Yes.
There would need to be, like, Nova Frostbolt into Alex.
And this is why the anti-healbot, sorry, I always do this, corrupted healbot has ended up being bad for Chongger, is that when you're in this position where you're down to 1 HP, which he knew he was going to be put to 1 HP, right, as long as the hero power could be played, then he's in a position...
Unless he got taunt.
Unless he got taunt, yeah, you're right. Unless he'd be in a position where you have to set up a 2 or 3 turn burn win condition for yourself. It's very, very difficult to do that when you have a corrupted healbot in play.
Oh, there's a Flame Strike. But, so there is openings now of Flame Strike Frostbolt draw, or Flame Strike Ice Barrier.
Yes.
Next turn.
Yes.
So, Chongger has pieced together an out, but it's a pretty huge out, to be honest. It's asking a lot of the deck.
Yeah, the problem now is that, like, che0nsu can also just pop and kill the corrupted healbot, which means he has so many turns to just hero power the face, right? Like, it has to be Ice Barrier at this point to shut down the hero power the
And
face.
him gaining the mana isn't a problem. It's only good.
Right.
Probably a little bit worried about Alex, though. If you trade,
It's true.
and then Self-Alex happens, that's probably game
That's true.
for the Druid.
That's a very
for the
good
Mage,
point.
sorry, for the Mage.
It's a very good point.
And it's often the win in these aggro matchups. If you can Alex Rise yourself and safely enough to not die, then suddenly, you're pretty good about life.
So excellent points. Yeah, not giving the corrupted
There you go.
healbot significant Wind Fury effect by trading all your minions into it does give you a little bit of a consolidated war position against Alexstrasza. Then you have to just think about, like, Pyroblast coming back the other way as well, right? Like,
Well,
that's
you can
a
just
fact.
trade all the other minions, right? I think this is
Time
fair.
waits for no one.
You can kill all the other minions.
Yeah, this does actually make
Pyroblast can't get you there.
Yeah.
So then there's literally nothing. Then if Alexstrasza comes down, well, look at your hand.
Mm-mm-mm.
Ooh! Well, it has to be Alexstrasza this turn.
You would leave 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11,
For
12.
15 total.
Wait,
If you don't trade.
yeah, you kill a 3-2, right?
Yeah. But this is the scary part now. There's enough mana for che0nsu to cast whatever he wants next turn. So if there's a buff, he just loses, but any other way he loses, so it's going to have to be Alexstrasza.
And you know you're dealing with top decks and top decks only, because you know the one card in hand is Flame Elemental. So.
Yes. Chonger's just trying to work out what his next turn plan is.
Yeah. It's not good enough when you're in these positions. Like, even though, like, this is the one turn that keeps you alive or whatever, like, you do have to have a formulated game plan in your head over the next 2 or 3 turns.
I'm pretty sure it's Alexstrasza self. Trade. Hope your opponent doesn't put you to 1. Oh, has Chongger already drawn his card? Sorry, che0nsu. Thinking about Alexstrasza. Tar Creeper's pretty good.
I think that's an ironic smile, Raven. I think on the previous turn, he smiled at the start of the turn because he realized the same dynamic we had, where he wanted to kill the corrupted healbot, but that left him bad against Alexstrasza. He knew he was in a pretty rough position against Alexstrasza if he didn't top deck, and then when the Alex came down, that was just a, yep, knew it kind of reaction.
Yeah, this is now a little bit tough, actually, because suddenly Pyroblast is lethal.
Yes.
So the healbot would have to be traded in, but now if you trade the healbot, then that means that you're not really getting close enough to the block proc. Tar Creeper does soak some, though. Tar Creeper would soak healbot.
Wait, there's no block in play right now, right?
No.
Yeah.
That's what it means, so you probably go for it.
Why did you say block proc? I'm confused.
Sorry, block the trade.
Right. Okay.
I meant, it blocks the heal bot. I meant bot, not block.
Time waits
It's fine,
for
I've been
no
calling it antique healbot this whole game. It's fine, I'll let you off.
Block that dude.
Yeah, there you go. I think that is clear as mud right now. We all understand.
That.
Nice.
Clear as mud, clear as tar.
Much better.
But Eve, not really changing much at this point. It's more than likely just going to be Flame Strike, ping, get 8 to face.
Start slapping in the face for 8 Damahe, Raven.
Yeah. 8 Damahe is a lot of Damahe.
Bang!
Hit twice to get double Damahe. Savage.
That is, in fact, a savage draw. Of
Yeah.
the Savage Roar. He would have needed that on any other turn up until now to be able to represent lethal. But che0nsu picking it up immediately after the Flame Strike clears his board, and he's now only 1 outside in this position. Swipe off the top would be lethal in this position.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think there's Druid of the Claw, for example, which would also get there.
Right.
Druid of the Claw charge, Savage Roar. But this is rough, and now with Arcane Insight, there's a chance. Oh,
That's it.
yeah,
That's
that's
game.
just going to be game. The I was going to say, if you draw into a secret or Arcanologist
Yeah,
into a
che0nsu
secret,
knows it too.
Yeah,
che0nsu knows that Arcanologist was a card he could not beat there. Even if it was the barrier, it locked him out. You see the handshake go down, and it's going to be Chongger with the control lineup taking the first matchup against the aggressive lineup. And even when we thought we were doing the wrong match, this was the dynamic that we were talking about, right? Because I think it will be a big story throughout this tournament. The aggressive